Superlatives time for week 3 of the 2023 preseason. Myles, give me one.
Well, speaking of the Rams, let's call it the least likely to care about the preseason award because my gosh, like the Rams just got blasted basically in 3 straight games, but especially over the weekend against the Denver Broncos. Lost 42-0. They're outscored by 75 points in 3 games. And I've been in that building and worked there for years. So like I understand kind of what the organizational philosophy on preseason is, and it's fine. But man, oh man, when you're getting torched by Jarrett Stidham like that, look what he was doing to that defense. It's probably hard to just kind of feel like, yeah, this is fine. But when they're not playing anybody of real consequence, I mean, they were sitting second string guys. So that probably helps that there are still 90 guys on the roster until Tuesday, where you have that flexibility to do that. So, man, it's just though, I mean, when you don't care, if we say teams don't care about preseason, the Rams really do not care about the preseason.
Well, and I think the Broncos cared about that game because they got shredded by the Rams on Christmas Day, 51-14. This was the first home game for Sean Payton as head coach of the Broncos. Their other 2 preseason games were on the road. This was an opportunity to kind of symbolically close the door, slam the door shut on 2021 by having those same uniforms, even though it's different players, but just to kick the crap out of them, 41-0, after they got demoralized by the Rams. Now they move forward toward the games that count. And if Jarrett Stidham gets to play in week 1, he would see the Raiders, but it's presumably going to be a healthy Russell Wilson all the way through. He's not banged up or anything. I don't want to create any drama here. It's not like he's going to get benched, but they have a great insurance policy in Jarrett Stidham in the event. In the event, I'm just saying, wait
until
December. Guys are going to get injured at some point. We know things are going to happen.
I'm not even talking about injury.
He would get a shot at the Raiders. He would get a shot at the Raiders right out of the gates if for some reason he'd be the starter in 13 days. I'm just saying there's no reason to think it, although it's kind of fun to think about the possibility of Stidham facing the Raiders. That's it. Okay, speaking of the Raiders. Yeah, that's true. Well, but it's week 1. There's something about week 1. Anyway, Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady reunited. And didn't you make a reference to the Reunited song at some point? The guy who knows nothing about movies from the 80s is quoting obscure ballads from the 70s from Peaches and Herb or Peaches and Herb. Was it Herb or was it Herb? But there's Jimmy Garoppolo and possibly the guy who called him that. You're going to stick it with that, mother bleeper? Hey, Garoppolo is the reason. Garoppolo's the reason Tom Brady didn't get to go back and play for the San Francisco 49ers. And now Garoppolo is the quarterback of the team that Brady is trying to be a partial owner of. We haven't heard anything about that in a while. But remember this. Back when they approved the sale of the Commanders in July, they made it harder for Mark Davis to pull off this transaction because you can't give employees equity now. And part of this deal was going to be Brady an employee of the Raiders, and I think that's how they were going to funnel some equity to him in lieu of salary. But Davis spoke out very strongly against it, this change they made to the rules. So, Brady was there acting like he owned a part of the Raiders. I don't know that he's going to, but at least for one night, it was Brady and Garoppolo together again. And our first real sighting of Brady in a football context since he retired. And I just wonder what he's thinking when he's around the guys with the uniforms and he's not playing. It's one thing to see it from afar, but to be in the middle of it, I'm not saying he's thinking about coming back, but it's never going to be tested any more than it is when you're right in the middle of it like he was on Saturday night.
It was kind of weird to just look at Tom Brady and see him next to quarterbacks and him not be in uniform. Like that whole image to me is just very strange because basically for my entire football consciousness, Tom Brady has been a quarterback somewhere, right? Whether for New England for obviously a very, very long time. And then in the last few years, as I've been covering things with the Buccaneers. So like it has been very strange to think that this is going to be a year without Tom Brady at quarterback. But hey, I mean, at least that's what it looks like right now.
Well, hopefully, I don't mean hopefully because I like a great story. What do you root for? I root for a great story. Hopefully, it's the first of many years without Tom Brady at quarterback. Hopefully, he's done and he's not coming back. So, although I would be fine if he did come back. I would like it. I would welcome him back to the NFL. He is good for business. So, Tom, anytime you want to come back, please do. We're not saying we don't want you, but we assume that you're not going to take a year off and then come back later. But who knows? He can do whatever he wants. And he's still going to have that arm into his 50s. The question is, does he trust his ability to make decisions, get rid of the ball, use his legs just enough to avoid the kind of hits that are going to be harder and harder to come back from the older he gets? But the arm is going to be there, and the arm is still there right now. And he said a couple of years ago, we got to move on to the next one, but he said a couple of years ago, the last thing I want to do is retire and turn on a game and say, these guys suck, I'm better than them. He better not watch a lot of football this year because he's better than most of the guys playing quarterback. All right, what else you got?
Let's go to Cleveland because they got a kicker problem, and it's the "we can't trust you now" award for Cade York. I mean, I don't really know what's going on with this guy. He's a 4th-round pick last year, and it's unfortunate. But look, there's another kick gets partially blocked. I don't know if it was really the block or if it was this or if it was that. He missed a point after earlier on in the game too, and his foot got stepped on, and it was kind of like, was he really hurt, or is it this or is it that? And to me, when you get your foot stepped on and you miss an extra point that badly, is it your feelings that are hurt or are your foot really hurt? I don't really know. But right now, even though Cade York can make all of these kicks in practice, by all accounts out of Cleveland, he cannot make kicks in the game. And when you have opportunities to make things and you don't do them in games and they present you opportunities to win, not that winning really matters in the preseason, but in a situation you're practicing it, you should be able to make your freaking kicks. He can't do it. So the Browns are going to have to do something over the next couple of days. Kevin Stefanski has said, we're going to keep all of those discussions internal about what we're going to do with a kicker or if Cade York is still trusted, da-da-da-da-da. But right now, it is very obvious that they can't trust the kicker. And if the Browns are going to be any kind of good this year, you have to be able to trust a guy to be able to put a point on the board after a touchdown or 3 points when you need him in a critical situation late in the game.
The danger, as we've previously discussed, is the Daniel Carlson effect, that the act of cutting him will cause him to finally get his mind right and play in games the way he performs in practice. And there was Carlson on Saturday night making a 62-yarder. The Vikings gave up on him. 2018, I believe. He was drafted out of UCLA, I think. They gave up on him because he had a rough week 2. 19? I thought it was 18. I thought it was the first year of Kirk Cousins when they tied Green Bay week 2 and he missed some kicks. We'll research that during the break. For now, my final superlative. And look, we don't do airing of grievances anymore. Maybe we will during the season. But this is kind of a preview of coming attractions. This is Where Have You Gone, Al Riveron. Because not that it was a perfect process when he was in charge of replay review, but I still don't know how this play became a touchback via replay review. Now, I know it's an application of the worst rule in football, that if you fumble forward out of the end zone, the other team gets it at the 20. This was ruled on the field as out of bounds, 1st and goal inside the 1. So, as we know, although sometimes I wonder whether or not 345 Park Avenue has gotten the memo, the ruling on the field only gets overturned if the evidence is clear and obvious of an error. Is it clear and obvious that Cameron Peoples, I'm thinking of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Cameron Peoples reaches the ball out, loses possession of it in the field of play, and it goes out in the end zone? That is not the kind of thing that I would call clear and obvious. You need a right down the line view to be clear and obvious in that situation. It's not clear and obvious. Is it likely? Is it probable? Yes, but it's not clear and obvious. And if we're going to, and this, we hear this all the time. They want to have a uniform standard. They want to be true to it all the time. It's clear and obvious, clear and obvious, clear and obvious. And here we are in a preseason game, and it's like a minute left, and they're trying to get the hell out of Dodge and move on. Just why, in all those situations, why would you overturn that one? It's so easy to just say it's not clear and obvious. But it just proves, Myles, even in a situation like that, the temptation is there to re-officiate the play from scratch instead of applying the replay standard. And if they're going to re-officiate the play from scratch in that moment where the easy thing to do is say, we're done, see ya, 1st and goal inside the 1, ruling on the field stands. If they're not going to do it then, we never know when that bastardization of the replay rule is going to rear its ugly head and not be applied the proper way. So get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready. Once the season starts again, that's on our radar screen. When and where and how are they going to screw up the replay standard?
No, they always do it somehow. I mean, but if I don't really get how that was out of bounds at the one I never have. I mean, since I saw the play, I mean, because if he crosses the goal line, isn't the play dead when he crosses the goal line? And yeah, I guess if he's fumbling as he crosses the goal line, then it goes out of bounds. But like, I don't want to relitigate the play because who cares? But it's just one of those things that
clear and
doesn't
obvious.
really make sense.
Clear and obvious.
Nothing about it is clear and obvious. Yeah.
Right. And if it's and you look at that and say there's nothing clear and obvious, we just defer to the ruling on the field. That's how it's supposed to be. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.